Hi folks, welcome to the channel and welcome to sunny Spain. It's the 1st of February and it is 19 degrees. Perfect blue skies, and how lucky am I? Right, so in this probably shorter, I think it's going to be probably shorter video than usual, I'm asking a question that I either hear or get asked all the time. As it says in the cover, should I bring my car with me when moving to Spain? And it doesn't sound like much, but you know, for some people it's a big question because there's so many variables, advantages and disadvantages. I've brought my car, which I'll talk about later in the video, but there's a lot to consider. For example, is it a difficult process? Is it harder to drive a right-hand car drive on the right-hand side of the road? How long can your car be in Spain without being registered with Spanish plates? Would it be easier to just drive a Spanish car? Do you need to pay import tax? You know, so there's a lot to consider. So I'm going to try and answer these questions in a simple and straightforward way to help anyone who's thinking of doing it decide what's best for them, what's best for you. I'm going to go through a pros and cons list, and based on my own experience, I'll share what I would do now if I were doing it all over again. And I'm going to throw in a few wee tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way. And as always, I must say, I'm no expert. These are just my thoughts. I've been through the whole process recently myself, and I'm just trying to pass off whatever I've learned to other people. And if you personally have other advice or suggestions, please share them in the comments below. Alright, oh, and while you're down there, why not give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, helps the channel, you'll never know how much. Right, and by the way, as you'll have noticed, I'm in the car. I do like to do these sort of videos from a nice location, so I'm heading to somewhere I've made quite a few videos now that I love. It just gives me a really good vibe, and it's Guardamar Castle. Is it Castillo de Guardamar? I just love it up there, and you get amazing views. You can see all the way up to Santa Pola, and you see Guardamar right down to Torrevecchia and inland towards Murcia. So it's just a really nice place, although it's usually quite windy, and that has proved to be a problem with some of the videos in the past, but I think I've solved all my wind problems now, so this will be a good test today. Alright, so we're going to be there shortly. Onward and upward. There's several different ways to go from where I live in Villamartin to Guardamar, but I like going all the back ways. It's just nicer vibe. It's about a half an hour's drive going this way. It's just wonderful driving through this sort of countryside. Guardamar del Segura. And for anyone who doesn't know, I lived here for a year, and it's a lovely place, but where I lived was very Spanish and not too many English speakers, and I struggled to learn to speak Spanish, so I didn't stay. But yeah, it's a lovely place. And I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but that's the castle up there, yonder. Right, to the castle, let's go. Lovely. It's just such a nice place to be. It's unbelievable. 1st of February, windy, and I need to take my hoodie off. I keep having to nudge myself. Workaholic all my life, and now living my life like this. Flip's sake, unbelievable, amazing. I'll have to stop saying unbelievable, but it is. Right, I'm gonna get down to making the video. I've something coming up in the next month or so, something very special that I can't wait to do, and I've ordered myself 3 or 4 t-shirts with my logo and all on it. Just because. Right, to the subject. Okay, so first of all, my experience of bringing my car to Spain. And to be honest, it's a question I never really had to ask myself whether or not to do it. It was just a no-brainer. As many of my regular viewers will know, I either sold or gave away everything that I possessed in this world materialistically before setting off almost 4 years ago now on my travels, my new life from Ireland. You know, my entire possessions were able to fit in, including my 2 dogs, were able to fit into my 2-door car, and nothing much has changed. Although now that I've bought a place, you do find that there's stuff you have to just buy, but I still live pretty minimalist, you know. My apartment is somewhere to rest my head and make my videos and relax. That's all it is. I'm not going to spend a fortune on it. So if I'd have thought about it at the time, keeping my car would have meant avoiding the cost and hassle of relocating what I did have, my belongings, some other way. The dogs certainly would have been more complicated. I had to take them in airplanes and stuff like that. Plus, me choosing a more frugal lifestyle to make early retirement possible had previously meant that I'd bought a cheaper, older car, although still a wonderful wee car. And an unexpected surprise bonus for me, when importing a car into Spain or anywhere in Europe from the United Kingdom, which I technically live in Northern Ireland, there's an import tax that usually applies. And it turns out I didn't have to pay any import tax, and I'll explain why in a few moments. But all that said, after living here now for quite a long time, you know, I'm coming to the end of my 2nd year in total of being in Spain and hearing other people's experiences. I now have a much better understanding of the pros and cons of bringing a car versus buying a car in Spain. So let's break that down, and I'm going to start off with some pros of bringing your car here, and I'll start with one I've sort of mentioned. So number 1, bringing your own car makes the moving process much easier. You can load it up with all your belongings, including your pets and even your spouse, if you really want to. Sorry, just joking. Number 2, if you're nervous about driving on the right-hand side of the road, which by the way you shouldn't be, because if you were very nervous, remember I'm an ex-driving instructor, so I sort of have these thoughts on things when it comes to driving here, but you could do a lot of driving here on quiet roads, etc., until you get used to it, and you just do get used to it. I'm more likely now if I go home to drive on the wrong side of the road at home than I am here. You know, your brain just adapts. You shouldn't really be afraid of it, but obviously some people are, and they will stay afraid of it. So having a right-hand drive car is much more familiar and make the transition smoother. Another one, number 3, second-hand cars in Spain are not cheap, and I mean they are really not cheap, much more expensive than home. Home being UK, Ireland, Southern Ireland, because back there cars are replaced more frequently. But due to the weather, the dry climate, cars here don't really rust and just last a lot longer, so people tend to keep them a lot longer. So there's lots of old cars here. That keeps the prices of second-hand cars up high. Whenever you scroll through second-hand car dealerships, you wouldn't believe it, you know, 6-7-year-old small cars that don't look in great condition with maybe 200,000 miles, 4,000 or 5,000 euro. I paid £1,800 for my Ford. You'd never get a deal like that here. Never in a million years. In fact, if your car's quirky, mine has an electric roof and stuff, the prices just go higher again. And again, remember, these are just my opinions. This is what I've gathered. This is my belief, my understanding. Other people might have a different view, but it's just what I've seen. So the cost of premium, and they almost always have high mileage. So if you already own a good car, bringing it with you can save you a significant amount of money, at least initially. But again, there's so many variables in this. Alright, can't really think of any more pros. There's a lot of smaller pros, but anything that matters, I think I've already covered there, you know. So, cons of bringing your car here. Number 1 would be, while you can obviously drive a right-hand car here, you're driving on the right-hand side of the road, and that creates a few difficulties. Overtaking is more difficult. If you imagine you're in the right-hand lane, you're sitting in the right-hand side of the car driving, and you want to overtake, well, you have to get your car out a lot further before you can see past. That's the same as parking. In Spain, It's the law that you have to park on the right hand side. So whenever you get into your car after being parked and you get back out and you have to get the car out, you have a car in front of you, very difficult to see past it because you have to have a substantial amount of your car out past that car so you can see up the road. There are certain types of junctions. For example, if you have a main road and you come up to a Y junction, because you're in the wrong side, you're not in the left where you can just look over your shoulder, there's a big blind spot there, so it can be quite hard to see if it's safe to join the road. And the one that I hear people talking about most, car parks and toll booths, can be a real pain in the arse. I'm still pretty fit. I can jump across the seat, stretch. Most of the time, sometimes I've had to get out of the car, but it's a pain in the bum and it takes you a bit longer to get in or out of a car park because of that. Because remember, when you're going into a car park, you're having to get your wee ticket, and when you come back, you have to put the wee ticket back in the machine, so you're doing that twice. Another con would be, once your car arrives in Spain, you have 6 months to get it re-registered into the Spanish system. Now, that's not a difficult thing to do because there are lots of companies. In one of my earlier videos, which I'll put a link in the description below, I talk about this, but there's lots of companies that do it for you, and they're brilliant. They do everything, right through to actually taking your car, because it goes for its ITV test, their version of the MOT. They get your new number plates sorted out for you and put them in the car and right through and all that sort of stuff. But at a cost, I paid, including tax and VAT, I paid around about, I'm not sure the exact amount, but it was around about €1,400. And they do a lot for that. It's good value for what they do, but it's another 1,400 quid. In my view, that's much less than you're going to pay if you change to a Spanish car with the increased costs, and you will still have certain things to do for your Spanish car that is covered in that 1,400 here, like the tax of the car, the actual road tax. You have to get new headlights or altered headlights in your car to suit driving in the opposite side. That's a legal requirement. I bought those myself. I paid like €65 for each light and put them in myself, so it wasn't a terrible big thing. But it's another expense. Included whenever the agencies do it for you will be your road tax for the year as well, and that 1,400 quid. So it is good value, but it's a lump sum that you have to pay out, and you've only got 6 months to do it. Con number 3, not a con, but you know what I mean, right? So number 3 is the import tax that I mentioned earlier. If your car's from mainland UK, Wales or Scotland, you have to pay import tax in the car. So if it's not an expensive car, that's not too bad. That will not be a terrible lot. But if you're driving a €25,000 car, the tax is based on the value of the car. So it can become very expensive. And by the way, I don't think I've mentioned this. New cars here, apparently, I don't know anything about this really, other than new cars aren't overpriced. You're supposed to be able to get very good deals in new cars. So if you're going to come in your intent and ban maybe a €20,000 new car, that's something you have to look into yourself. But as far as I've been told, it's pretty much similar to buying a new car in the UK, price-wise. But don't quote me on that. However, if your car's from Northern Ireland, we have a special dispensation because of the border thing and Brexit, where some things we are still considered to be in Europe for. And one of them is bringing your car into Europe. You don't have to pay any. I didn't know any of this, but if you're from Northern Ireland, you don't need to worry about it at all, which makes the whole process a lot cheaper. I mean, €1,400 to bring your car and have it registered and have it taxed and have it through its MOT and all the things that go along with that is quite good value. And just as a wee side note, the company I used for registration, who were called Car Registration Spain, if you want, I didn't see a video like this, so I wouldn't have known this, but if you want, you could even go on right now and send them an email and say you're thinking of bringing your car, here's my type of car, here's how old it is, etc. And they will work you out a quote and also work out how much import tax you're going to pay. So that's something worth inquiring about always before making any decision. And I assume all these car registration companies in Spain are the same. They'll work it out for you and give you a price free, so you'll know exactly what to expect. Alright, so that's it. So that's 3 pros and 3 cons. What's the answer? Honestly, it's not as clear cut as I initially thought before I started to delve into this. For me, bringing my car was absolutely the right decision. But for you, it depends on your circumstances. If you're comfortable, for example, with import tax, if that's required, and registration fees, and your car suits your needs, bringing it with you might very well be the easiest and best option. But if the costs and hassle overweigh the benefits, you might be better buying locally. So in my videos, it's funny because usually in these videos I give my exact opinion, and I realised as I was coming to the end of putting this information together, it's just not that straightforward. I can't give you my opinion. In my circumstances, if I was coming again, I would do what I did. But if I had a family and car worth maybe 15, 20 grand, whatever, there'd be other decisions to be made, other considerations to be taken into account. And by the way, for all of this that I'm saying, it doesn't really matter. You're moving to Spain. So, for anyone thinking of moving here, I hope this video helps you out. Certainly gives you a few things to think about that you maybe haven't thought about before. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other experiences or tips to share. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe and share, as it really helps the channel. Just can't tell you how much. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
We'll be right back.